Mexico's drug cartels are behind one of the deadliest schemes operating in the U.S. They're mass-producing fentanyl pills and distributing the drug across the country. David Asher is a senior fellow with the Hudson Institute. David, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
So first, explain what fentanyl is and why it's been so deadly to Americans.
So fentanyl is an opioid analog, which means it has some characteristics of normal opium, but it's been synthetically manufactured for really about over 100 years. It is a drug, though, that in its synthetic form has between 50 and 100 times power of natural-grown heroin or morphine. So we're dealing with a extremely potent toxic combination of the ingredients biochemically of heroin and other opium-related drugs with sort of a boost effect that makes it very powerful. It's been very helpful for people with cancer, other types of traumatic pain injuries, and it also creates a potent high that kills people. And that seems to be, unfortunately, where it's going these days.
And how are Mexican drug cartels actually producing it? And what's China's role?
Yeah, how are they doing it? Well, they're doing it because the Chinese are sending in the precursor chemicals. It's not that hard to produce it if you have the precursor chemicals. Those chemicals are being manufactured probably 80–90% globally in China. And the other percentage is usually controlled by Chinese triads or gangs. Organized crime groups. So one way or another, this is a big tie in China. They put those chemicals together in a labs which are increasingly run by Chinese chemists on loan from Chinese chemical companies to Mexican drug cartels. And you can produce these at really quite a large scale. I mean, we had 50 pounds of fentanyl found at the border yesterday near LA. I mean, that's enough to kill 150,000 people or something, maybe more than that. I mean, it's a very economic, powerful way to produce a toxic high, and that's why the cartels are doing.
I mean, David, is the Chinese government doing anything to crack down on these chemicals being used?
You know, I was in the State Department. I worked with the Chinese on these issues. They did absolutely nothing in a reciprocal fashion. I've done that actually 4 times in my career. I worked with China on counter-drug cooperation. This is the most serious one in the last 2 years of the Trump administration. They didn't do a damn thing. I mean, I'm sorry. We asked them over and over again. We got no cooperation, as everyone knows, over COVID-19 and its origins. But this area, they actually pledged cooperation in policing the fentanyl precursor chemicals. They banned them from being exported to Mexico, and then they didn't stop them from being trafficked. So basically, it was a big bluff on their part.
And do you think they're being uncooperative on purpose?
Yes. Yeah, I think they're engaged in what they view as a sort of covert action program, a reverse opium war, a way of using narcotics the way the Brits used against the Chinese to undermine their state and society and solidarity. They're trying to do that to us. And they're more or less underwriting the drug business for the Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels. The United States is trafficking this drug, which I talked to some detained drug traffickers about, and they told me normally they wouldn't be selling it because it kills so many of their customers. But with the enhancement of the Chinese providing a subsidy, they're more than happy to do it. So I think there's definitely a willful act of state involved, unfortunately.
And you've called this the largest money laundering scheme in the world. How does it work?
Pretty simple. Chinese students across the country get called by Chinese brokers across the country. And we're saying here Chinese, but we're really talking communist Chinese. And we're not talking kids who are of Chinese descent. So there's no pejorative sense of anti-racist or racist view of Chinese kids or anti-Asian or something. This is really weird. These are kids almost always on work visas or education visas in the U.S. or money brokers who are here on work visas. They coordinate the money pickup. So like $100,000 it gets sold of fentanyl-laced OxyContin, let's say, in Flushing, Queens. You'll see, and I've been up there and seen it myself, a kid walking down the street with a big Samsonite money in it. He'll drop that into a Chinese travel agency, which in some cases will be informed or owned by the Chinese government. And they'll take it from there, and they'll invoice of this sale of tickets to China, even though no one's flying to China, and they'll pass the money back to the Chinese triad or cartel. So, you know, it's really blatant. We literally are seeing 4,000 to 5,000 students a week, at least as of last year, being involved in picking up drug money for the Sinaloa.
And David, what has the response been from the Justice Department, and what more do you recommend be done?
Well, I mean, have you seen a case on any of this stuff? It's remarkably low response. We had an investigation at the State Department, which is why I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, my boss, Mike Pompeo, had no problem with us looking into this issue. We saw it as an act of foreign policy by China and potentially a violation of the Chemical Weapons Convention. So we did our own investigation. But as far as the Drug Enforcement Administration and the Department of Justice, where are they? I don't know. I mean, this State Department has some authorities. We could revoke the visas of those kids. We were thinking about it, but we're not the primary line of defense on this thing. I know where federal law enforcement is. They're doing a lot of things that are perhaps less important than this. There's 100,000 kids dying a year.
All right.
It's a big deal.
All right, David. Appreciate you being on the program with us. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future Government Matters interviews.